All right, welcome down to the pit. Dave C here. For this video, I thought I would focus on short Fuze, the 1982 and 83 G.I. Joe figure. So in 1982, Hasbro came back with the revival of G.I. Joe, this time calling it A Real American Hero. And here's the actual pamphlet that came with the vehicles for the first year. And inside here is short Fuze. And you can see him there. He's number 8. And as you can see, the prototype version is a little bit different than the actual figure that we all got. And it says there, number 8, Mortar Soldier, codename Short Fuze. And I like these more simple 1982 G.I. Joe card arts, just because it reminds me of maybe real life army and military stuff. And that was really, really important to me as a kid, and a big reason why I liked G.I. Joe so much, and still do today. And you can see here that it says, includes M1 81mm medium mortar, ammo pack, and helmet. And there's the actual mortar there. And this book here is from 3D Joe's. Carson started it, of course, as you guys all know. And this particular book here has all the 1982 carded figures art. All the 14 there. There's Breaker, Cobra Soldier, Cobra Officer, Flash, Grunt, Rock and Roll, Scarlet, and a few more. There's Snake Eyes, there's Stalker, of course, and yeah, Zap. So, but yeah, here's the guy we were talking about, and that's Short Fuze. A friend of mine from down in Texas, Wes Prophet, who's Joe Hunter 73 is his call name on Instagram. His first G.I. Joe were Short Fuze. So I thought I'd mention that in this video. Whenever I think of don't mess with Texas, I always think of Wes. Just because he's a really cool guy who's tough as nails. And yeah, so I thought I'd throw that in there for sure, because he's a really good friend of mine on Instagram. And here's a write-up for Short Fuze and the Marvel G.I. Joe number 2, Order of Battle, from 1986. And his write-up reads, codename Short Fuze, Mortar Soldier, file name Eric W. Freestat, primary military specialty artillery, secondary military specialty infantry engineer, birthplace Chicago, Illinois, grade E4. Short Fuze comes from a military family, father and grandfather both career top sergeants. Enjoys abstract mathematics and can plot artillery azimuths and triangulations in his head. Specialized education, artillery school, engineer school, advanced infantry training, qualified expert M14, M16, M1911A1, M79 grenade launcher, M2 60mm light mortar, and M1 81mm medium mortar, which is the one that he came with. Short Fuze is logical and sensitive, has a tendency to blow his stack, hence his name, Short Fuze. And there's some nice comic art, as sometimes he would appear in the Marvel comic book. And he's holding his glasses, and that's something I'm going to talk about a little bit later. That's an important attribute to this character. Although on his card art in 82, he didn't have glasses and wasn't wearing them. In the Marvel comic book, he usually has his glasses. And in Marvel G.I. Joe number 1, released in June 1982, on the very first page, it depicts Short Fuze helping up rock and roll. As the Joes are going to this mountaintop on Cobra Island and putting an American flag. And one spot in this famous G.I. Joe comic I like is right here in this panel, where Short Fuze is dropping some artillery rounds on some Cobra jets. And then, of course, the rest of the Joes move in. There's Stalker and Grunt. But yeah, that's a memorable, kind of a first panel that I remember Short Fuze being in. And then, of course, a year later, Sunbow Animated Series went in partnership with Hasbro, and they came out with The Mass Device, which was a 5-parter from 1983. And he was in that cartoon series. And here's a better look at his figure. This is a straight arm version, which is the original 1982 version. In 1983, the swivel arm came out. And there's a few differences. As you can see here, he's got bright blonde hair. And that was a definite thing to remember about Short Fuze. And he has the exact same head sculpt as Flash. I like that he has just a basic look. And I know Mixmaster Shane, he likes all the old 82 Joes as well, for the same reasoning. Later on, a lot of Joes, they kind of got really loud with the colors, like in the late 80s. And sometimes me and Shane, we like to look back at these and just kind of admire it. I really like the turtleneck type look, like the commando type sweater. And of course, he has the mortar straps going across his chest. He's got silver patches on his arm. He's got the Hasbro H going around his waistband, which was changed in the 1983 version to the house logo. And as I was talking about earlier, there are some slight differences with the prototype. As you can see here, on his pants, there's a brown leg patch. But on the actual figure that you got, you can see there it's unpainted. And there are the accessories that he came with. Mind you, I don't have his original black 81mm medium mortar. I have 2 of the accessory pack ones that I'll talk about in a second. But I do have his original backpack. Here it is here. I have a couple of them. And I also have his original helmet and face mask, the clear visor, which I thought was really, really cool back then. There's a photo of it again. But it gave the Joes like a futuristic look, although they were still kind of intertwined using older Vietnam era type stuff. They also had like a modern type look, with the visor being one of them, and some more modern weapons, as per se Flash with his laser gun. But they still kind of kept it, old military at the same time. His mortar was available in 1984 in accessory pack number 2. And I have one here, as you can see. And it's from a store called True Value. So any American Joe fans, if you want to leave a comment, if you know where that store is, and if you had gone to one in the 1980s, that would be cool to hear about that, because I'm not really familiar with that store. But yeah, it's got the 82 guys on the front, just like Marvel G.I. Joe #1. And then down in this bubble here, you can see it's got his mortar, the 81mm. There's a stand for it, and you can see the bottom of the mortar on the top of the bubble. This part of the video, I just want to put in some Joe community news. And speaking of Joe, my friend Joseph from Washington, he attended a pretty big toy show and was able to find a lot of G.I. Joe stuff that he was able to purchase for himself and his kids. He has 2 boys who love G.I. Joe just as much as he does. So yeah, we'll run that now.
Hey Dave, hope you and your family are doing well. Haven't talked to you in a while and just want to see how you're doing. And yesterday we went to the first toy show we've been to since COVID, and it was a big one. So I thought I'd show you a couple things I got for G.I. Joe. First off, I got a bag o' Terradrome parts. Mostly all the loose parts are there. And one of the side turrets. And I got that for real cheap. Gonna try and put together a Terradrome for the boys. So I was pretty excited to get all the hard parts out of the way. Now I just need to find a cheap shell. Got a couple Vipers, finally. These are my first Vipers since '86. One was a Canadian card back. That made me think of you. Started to load up my '86 and '87 crew finally too. I needed Airtight, haven't had him. There's the 2 Vipers. And the Techno Viper, which I was really thrilled to get. He's real nice. Came with a couple extra tools and extra plasma rifle. Pretty stoked. And then, most importantly, I finally got a Tomahawk. Now, the cool thing about it is it's complete, but right before I walked up to the booth, probably about 5 minutes or so, one of the guys that was working the booth accidentally knocked it off the table and broke the rear rotor hub swash plate. So they gave it to me for really, really cheap, and that's the only thing wrong with it. Other than, of course, Lift Ticket's missing his mic boom, but I don't care about that. The rest is all there. I do have one replacement dumb bomb on there, but that doesn't bother me at all. So yeah, man, it was a good day. I've been needing these guys for a long time here. Tunnel Rat only has one flashlight, and obviously Falcon's missing his antenna, but at least he has the survival knife, which is cool.
Thanks, Joe. Really appreciate you giving me that footage so I could put it in a video. I always like getting updates from my friends about kind of different things that they've gotten at shows and things like that. And typical Joe, being so modest, he doesn't mention that he was a helicopter pilot for the U.S. Air Force, so that's a big reason why he's so excited about getting that Tomahawk. And I'm looking forward to buying some more G.I. Joe stuff in the future. I was talking to him the other day that I'm probably going to get the 83 Pack Rats, because those are ones that I remember from back when I was a kid, but I don't have them in my collection. So looking forward to getting those. So for this part of the video, I thought I'd talk about a G.I. Joe memory, because I've been trying to incorporate that in every video coming up. So for today, I'm going to talk about this guy here, who is codenamed Mutt. And of course, he came with his dog, Junkyard, and this was back in 1984. But yeah, my memory is of me finding this guy on the pegs back then and being super excited that he came with an animal because I saw that Spirit had an animal and it was Freedom, the eagle, but this was the first one I saw. The first ever G.I. Joe that came with an animal. And I love dogs because I had a dog. His name was Grover. And I mean, he was such a great family dog. So to see a G.I. Joe have a pet was very, very cool. And the other thing I was going to mention is that I couldn't quite figure out why they had the soldier named Mutt and the actual dog named Junkyard. I thought it should have been the other way around. So that was an interesting memory. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. I just want to give some shout outs here to Jessica C, Joseph Onash, Joe Hunter 73, Chasing 80s Toys, Dan Jammin 905, Bob Hansen, Codename Steve, Boba Hicks, Soundwave 1977, Goji, Vince, Gaz, Ashley Clark, Stu Norris, Steve Meyer, Rudy M, Obi, Mate Mylar, Joe Torres, Kirk Lee 1983, Dave, Destro's Dungeon, Heinrich, Santi B, Micah, Luciana, Count Floyd, and Night Lobo. If I missed anybody, sorry about that. I just made a list. It's been a while since I did shout outs to people that have been following me and making comments on my videos and Instagrams. And yeah, just want to thank everybody again for, caring about Dave C. straight from the pit.